My brothers and sisters in Christ, what is your spiritual house built upon? Today in the gospel, we hear Jesus compare the wise man and the fool to what they build their house upon, the rock, the sand, the loose ground. And in a similar vein, as the church celebrates the memorial of St. Ambrose today, St. Ambrose once spoke using two different images that seem at first glance to be opposite, but both speak soundly of life in the church. One was the rock of the apostles built upon Christ as a firm foundation, and the other as the bark of the church on the stormy waves and yet always afloat. So one is speaking of a firm foundation, the other is one adrift on a liquid surface. And yet both speak to the promise, the security when we are rooted in Christ. When we are rooted in Christ, or when we are safely within the bark of the church, then we can endure the storm, the rains, the heavy winds, the things that come. But all too often, we may think that that is our foundation, but we have to evaluate, especially in penitential seasons like Advent. Am I deceiving myself? Is this really the foundation I've built upon? The teaching of the church, which is the faith of the apostles, when we say the apostles as the cornerstone, both the faith of our fathers and the living dynamism and apostolic succession rooted in Christ. This is our north on our compass, which is to tell us when the world goes crazy, when opinions constantly change, when there's swings of ways of thinking, of cultural norms, of values, we can orient ourselves constantly by the timeless teaching of the apostles. This is why people rightfully are very sensitive. Anytime you hear a bishop or prelate, a pastor, anyone proposing a reinterpretation or a changing in church teaching, that's not to say there's nothing that can ever change, but for those core elements, they are unchangeable because they're rooted in Christ. This gives us our compass, our firm foundation, our anchor in the waters as everything is tumultuous and confusing around us. But all too often we seek to build our foundations on these other things that shift, that change, that are unstable. Perhaps we build our foundation on trust in ourselves until we find that our strength isn't what we thought it was. We build it on expectations of some worldly value that shifts or is yanked away. But instead, as Jesus calls us in the gospel, if we build our house on solid rock, when we build our house on Jesus Christ, on the apostles built on him, the strength of the church, we will find that even as the winds batter us, as the rains come down, the house will remain, and we will have secure shelter from the storm. And so, my brothers and sisters in Christ, on this day during Advent, may we each pray sincerely with the question, on what foundation is my spiritual house built? May God bless you.